Here it is, Lotus Exige S, baby. Now, in case you're not familiar with all the E's in the Lotus clan, the Elise, the Elan, the Evora, the Exige is the crazy one. It's that member of the family that when it turns up for a gathering, everyone just thinks, don't talk to him in case he does something really inappropriate, like murder everyone. Or at least it was, until they chopped the roof off and made this Roadster edition. Whereas the coupe is the ultimate Lotus, a race car you're allowed to drive on the road, the Exige S Roadster is a bit softer, like a maniac on Valium. They've domesticated it slightly, taken the roof off so you can pose, softened the suspension, added a nicer interior with heated seats, pretty leather, and got rid of some of the electronic wizardry that made it so lethal on the track. Looking at all of this, I assumed they'd turned it into a bit of a sissy, but on closer inspection, I was wrong. Very wrong. Actually, wrong doesn't begin to describe how stupid I was in that assumption. The Exige S Coupe was mental, and the Exige S Roadster is mental. Nothing about this car is soft. Nothing. The steering, well, there's no power steering, and the front tires are huge. The steering's incredibly hard. The clutch pedal is incredibly hard. The gear stick is incredibly hard. You really have to man up when you drive this thing. Apparently Lotus has softened up the suspension a little bit for the Roadster, and I'll give them that. I'm not saying it's soft, you'll still discover potholes in this thing that you never knew existed, but you can live with it. What might be more difficult to live with is the fact that it's not very accommodating in here. You get a lot of wind noise with the top down. In fact, driving at motorway speeds is a little bit like going on an airplane and sticking your head out the window at 30,000 feet. Ironically, Lotus actually provides some sound deadening material, just a little bit of foam in the footwell. But what's the point of that when the engine is 10 inches behind your head? That sound you're hearing is a 3.5 litre V6 supercharged engine chucking out 345 horsepower, and is absolutely savage. It's just ballistic. Just there's no other word to describe it. It is ridiculously fast. I cannot state that enough. It is absolutely insane how quick this car is. 0 to 60 takes 3.8 seconds. 0 to 100 miles an hour takes 8.5. They've dropped the top speed in this thing down to 145 miles an hour, because any faster and it will just rip the fabric roof clean off. Don't be fooled by its beautiful looks, the addition of a nicer interior, and its addictive performance. This is not a relaxing car to drive. It's not for posers. It engages your every sense and forces you to become physically and emotionally involved in every moment you spend behind the wheel. It's like an old school supercar. Bonkers, unforgiving, focused, and definitely not for the faint-hearted. If you think you're man enough to handle one in the city, then like me, you'd be wrong. That said, there is one place where the Exige S Roadster really shines. Now this is more like it. Out here on the open road, this car just really comes into its own. Around the city it felt restrained, it felt like it was just straining at the leash constantly, begging you to unleash the fury. But out here, it's just a different animal. I've got to say that engine note really is special. Normally I'm a V8 man or a V12 man, a V10, but the V6 here is really singing its heart out. It's got that low guttural baritone to it, but there's also so much more. There's a lot of finesse in the noise it makes. The whistle from its Eaton supercharger, plus the bark from the exhaust when you come off the accelerator. It sounds absolutely phenomenal. It's a real symphony. The handling, now that's where Lotus really earned their money. You can criticize this car as much as you want when it comes to refinement, but at the end of the day, handling, there's not a lot out there that can really touch this. Around the city, the lack of power steering is a real pain in the ass. But out here on the open road, you can really see why Lotus persevere with that strategy. I'm annoyed at them, but they've got it right. No power steering really works. You can feel absolutely everything. Every change in the amount of surface grip, every change in camber, everything is transmitted through the steering wheel. I speak this car's language now. I am directly connected to the road. It's a strange sensation coming out of cars that have power steering, whether that be hydraulic or electrically assisted. They always rob a little bit of feel, but after a while, you get used to that numbness. Suddenly, the car's communicating again, and it's like seeing or hearing for the first time. It's insane. And do not get me started on the power. The power is ridiculous. Now, you might look at the figures and think 345 horsepower is not a lot, but believe me, in a car that weighs less than 1,200 kilograms, it's ballistic. So Lotus reckon this thing can do 0 to 60 in 3.8, right? I think that's a conservative estimate. This feels like an absolute rocket ship. And yet, you know what? So what? It doesn't have a top speed as high as the Exige S coupe. It can only do 145 miles an hour, but who needs to go faster than that when you've got such acceleration? It's utterly, utterly brutal. It's animalistic. It's psychotic almost. It makes me afraid, but it also makes me feel alive. And that is something you've really got to applaud. I love this thing. I really do. In a word, yes. This thing might not be a proper M2, but it is absolutely mental. Let me break down some numbers for you. 3-litre twin scroll turbocharger, 326 horsepower, 450 newton meters, 0 to 60 newton meters of torque. 0 to 62 is 0.2 quicker than the old Coupe S, down to 6.8. And its 50 to 75 mile an hour speed, that's your overtaking speed, has dropped by a full second, down to 6 seconds dead. Of course, no sporty car is complete without the accompanying exhaust note. And basically, somebody with access to money and guns. But let's holster that gun talk for a second, because this hybrid model is designed to be nice. It's designed to address the Range Rover's image problem by promising better fuel economy and lower emissions. It's kinder to Mother Nature. Hell, it even comes in this optional earth-friendly blue color. That was fun.